Hello and welcome to First Impressions. This is a show where my co host Dash Hooper and I evaluate a new album each week with a few simple ground rules. First, must be an album we've never heard before. Second, we're only allowed to play it once. After that, we take notes and rate it using a variety of categories. The album we're looking at this week is going to be From Zero, the 2024 album from Linkin Park. So, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing excellent. It's a little different night for us.
Yeah,
We got
for those who are used to seeing us Wednesday night, I have plans. I had to change our night, but we wanted to still do the show live instead of a pre-record. That way we can interact with you and you can tell us again, always, as we say, if we're right, if we're wrong. Last week, hopefully you listened to that album. Hopefully people went out and listened to it. But this week we're looking at Linkin Park. So it's a much bigger album. Last week we looked at Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, and they're a lot smaller band. So this one, I'm sure a lot of people already know this band and they have their opinions. If you've played this album, let us know. This is their newest one, came out last year, and that is the From Zero album. So it's with a brand new singer, but like always, we like to kind of start with a little history of the artist. So I did a lot of research this time. So how's it going, Madness? And I'm gonna kind of share what we have. I got some of this from the internet and some from a podcast that I had listened to, which is called 60 Songs That Explain the 90s. And now that Rob Harvella, the host of that show, is talking about the 2000s. And I got a lot of good history about Linkin Park from that. So they are an American band from Agora Hills, California. I know where that is approximately. It's kind of like if you're in California, you see the signs, but somewhere near LA. And they formed in 1996. It was founded by Mike Shinoda, Brad Delson, and Rob Borden. They were originally called Zero, but not Zero with a Z, Zero with an X. And Chester Bennington was not their original singer. They had a singer called Mark Wakefield. I've heard snippets of his original vocals, but he left the band in 1998. They had a major label showcase at the Whiskey, which is in downtown Hollywood. I've been there multiple times, and from all accounts, it was disastrous. The label reps that were there said, you just need to go underground and don't even try to play another show. This was just awful. And one of the biggest things they blamed it on was Wakefield's vocals. They said, this guy is just not good. He's never going to get good. You know, you could practice him for months and he's never going to improve. So at that point, they decided to have him leave the band, and they were looking for vocalists, and this is where they found Chester Bennington. They found him in 1999. He was in another band as well. He's from Phoenix, Arizona. He was in this band. He was in another band, but he left that band because they were already having difficulty and they were having issues. So he left the band, and they now formed Linkin Park, and they recorded their first album, Hybrid Theory, in 2000, which blended nu metal, rap rock, and electronic elements, and it was gigantic. So multi-platinum, and had multiple hits. It also earned them a Grammy Award for Best Hard Rock Performance, so it blew them up. They went from zero to, a million just overnight with this album. And over the years, they evolved their sound. They incorporated alternative rock, electronic music, pop influences, and released, as that particular incarnation of the band with Chester, they released 7 albums. I can honestly say I have not heard all those albums. I don't think I've listened. Honestly, besides this one, this might be the only one I've played in its entirety. I knew the singles, because they had a string of gigantic singles, so I knew those, but I can't even say if I've listened to any of their albums besides this one in their entirety. So for those who don't know, in 2017, Chester Bennington passed away, and at that point, the band went into an indefinite hiatus. They said, okay, we don't know what we're going to do. They never said that they were done. They just said, we need to rethink this. So 7 years later, in 2024, they announced a new singer, Emily Armstrong, and a new album, From Zero. And that's, of course, what we're going to look at tonight. So kind of there's the brief history of the band with what I researched, what I found. So
Thanks, Pops.
yeah, if you want to book for Madness Comedy Network, you can contact Pops. He'll get you in. So that's the history of the artist. And now for this particular album, this one was released last year in 2024, and it was their 8th studio album. And the From Zero title works on 2 levels. The first level is, of course, they're starting all over again, even though they're a well-established, at one point, huge rock band selling, 6 million copies of the album, and they were selling in huge numbers. They're brand new. It's like a brand new band, even though they carry that name. But it also refers back to Mike Shinoda's first band, and all of the members of Linkin Park were in the band besides Chester and that band Zero. So it's kind of a double representation of starting from scratch, starting anew, and then beyond that, giving homage to their original band Zero. So that's what I have about the history of the artist, history of the band, and talking about the reviews for this one. They're kind of hit in the middle. They're on Metacritic, it's at a 71. So it's a decently reviewed one.
Boo, Metacritic, boo.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, Metacritic's not, all it is an algorithm. It compiles them. So it's kind of like, oh, it's got this kind of score on Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes isn't an entity. It just compiles things. And that's what Metacritic did. And I found a lot of the major reviewing people didn't even review it. I think on Metacritic, it's compiling only 13 reviews. And where they stood was there were positive and there were middle. There were no outright negative reviews. And I think it's hard. I mean, who wants to trash an album with a band that had to go through that kind of turmoil? So I think even if a critic hated it, they're going to kind of bite their tongue and keep it to themselves. So yeah, I looked on the Metacritic, and most of them are saying kind of the same thing that I'm going to be saying later. And it's just, okay, it's a new start and you have to look at it for what it is. You can't just go, okay, it's trash. Because if this was the 8th album and Chester Bennington's a part of it, the critics might have been, completely rough on it, because at that point they're a well-established band and they're kind of playing later career material. And that's always a gray area, because we've talked about it before. Late era material is more miss than hit. Most of the time you listen to it and it's like, I think about the newest Pearl Jam album. It's okay. The newest Smashing Pumpkins album. It's okay, because these bands have done their greatest material and now they're just kind of moving along. But this is different. This is more like a first album from a band, even though it's technically their 8th.
Which is exactly the way I went into it. And because of him, Emily, and I want to be fair, nobody's going to replace Chester, but we'll talk more about that. But that's the way I went into it, was looking at it as a brand new or a first album from a new band.
Yeah, so you have to, because if you look at it as, okay, and of course people are going to compare it to the legacy of Linkin Park. You can't help but do that, because Linkin Park has a gigantic legacy. There are people that are hugely passionate about this band, and they're going to look at it like, okay, this is blasphemous. How could they replace Chester? But what do you want them to do? Do you want them to just, do nothing? Because they, a lot of musicians, they're not doing it for the money. I'm sure Linkin Park made plenty of money during their run, but they love the music. They have a passion for going out and making music and sharing it with people. So you can't begrudge them that. Although I remember when the first single came out, it was pretty rough with some people online. I mean, some people are just, that's what they're here for. They're here to trash and bash and never listen to the internet. The internet's where you'll find some pretty awful people. Just ask the female Ghostbusters cast. I mean, gosh, it's some rough stuff out there.
Listen, if you're taking life advice from social media, you probably need to go outside and talk to some real people.
The internet trolls are never gonna they're never gonna speak the truth. I mean, it's kind of like, you look at what they did to the Star Wars franchise. They got so pissy about the second of the reboot sequels, and they rewrote it, and it's like the fanboys got to rewrite that Star Wars. So you just have to turn them off and do your best. So yeah, it's easier said than done. I'm sure if you're a band, you're always going to be that morbid curiosity, like, let me see what people are saying, and just don't. That's my advice.
Absolutely.
So now I guess we can talk about what's our history with this band.
Oh, listen, Hybrid Theory and Meteora were the soundtracks of my deployments from 2000 on. Obviously, if you follow any military people, you know what happened in 2000 on. I was deployed more times than I stayed home from 2000 to 2009. I spent more time overseas than I did. But from 2000 to about 2005, those first two albums from Linkin Park, again, Hybrid Theory and Meteora, were the soundtracks of our time there. So, in the end, it's one of the greatest songs. That's one of my favorite songs of all time, still to this day. My buddy Adam and I, if we get to karaoke, that is, I do the Chester part, he does the rapping part. That's one of our favorite all-time songs to do at karaoke. So my history
that's a bold song to karaoke, because Chester, he hit some notes that are beyond regular humans, what they should be doing.
I'm not patting myself on the back or anything, but I might have a little bit of vocal talent. I'm not.
So you can hold your own, and that's something, because I would just embarrass myself.
So, but yeah, Linkin Park reminds me of a different, it just reminds me of a time of where I was with my friends, and like, if you watch the Vietnam movies and the soundtrack to the Vietnam movies, this was the soundtrack for, a lot of these songs were the soundtrack of our time in Iraq and Afghanistan and those places. So, that's my, and I just, and this is all those albums, even where they kind of changed up and got a little different from down the road from, they kind of changed up from Meteora. Hybrid Theory was one way, Meteora was another way, and you just keep on going down the line, and you get into One More Light, stuff like that. Dash drops bars, yo. Thanks, Chuck. Yeah. I have a few times in my life, Chuck. I have a few times in my life. It's, now I'm 8 years, almost 9 years sober, so we don't go to too many places like that. But it's just, I love it. I love their music, and each album brings something different to the table. And I've seen a lot of I didn't like this album because it doesn't reach Hybrid Theory's all-time, and things like that. But Linkin Park will and always will be just a part of my life because of a time that the songs, how they made me feel while I was deployed. So yeah, that's exactly my history with them. And to this day, I can listen to Linkin Park over and over and over again. I posted a question, and I should have had In the End on one of those repeat songs where you can listen to it at least 10 times or more. In the End would be one of those songs.
Okay. And see, we come from a way different place then, because for me, when nu metal hit in 99 and 2000, I detested it. And I think a lot of that is not Linkin Park. When I look back and I play Linkin Park, I realize, okay, there was some good stuff there. But the problem is when the spokesman of that scene was an ass clown Fred Durst, and he's out there just representing everything I hate. So I just completely did a 180 and went fully into underground music. So at this point in time, I'm just going myself anything that's not new metal, because I became fixated with, underground indie music, at the drive-in, Death Cab for Cutie when they were first coming up. And that's what I immersed myself in. I immersed myself in a scene that wasn't full of knuckleheaded dickheads that were punching each other out. And it was just, I went completely away from it. And in that way, I was being somewhat of a pretentious music snob. But I just didn't love what was on the radio, and I disregarded some good stuff that was out there. But for every Linkin Park, there's 3 Papa Roaches, and I just couldn't take it. And so I did the complete opposite that you did, and I just went away from anything that was radio. I was that
totally understandable.
I was that guy who only listened to underground indie music, and my friends would get irritated because they're like, "We don't know any of these bands you're going to see." I'm like, "Well, you should," but in the end, was a great song. And I liked it at the time, but it was my, I'm too good for this, walking around with my nose in the air, because anything new metal, like I said, the Fred Durst stink of it just ruined it for me. And I mean, it was something. I agree with Chuck. These, Linkin Park, they did interesting stuff. Yeah. So
Deftones, definitely. Yeah. Deftones.
I liked the Deftones. They were a band. I was listening to Tool. I was listening to Rage. Fred Durst. Fred Durst was just terrible. And there was stuff, like I said, I eventually came to like once I got out of my, my air of I only listen to underground music. Because, I still primarily listen to a lot of underground music. And you'll see that as we're going through this show. And a lot of the bands I'm going to make, Dash listen to and we're going to talk about, most people haven't heard of, but there's great stuff. And what I had to learn was, okay, there's great stuff that is in the mainstream. It's just when you have the top dog of that whole scene, someone I can't stand to even look at. And I mean, I hear Limp Bizkit songs like I'm diving for the dial to turn that shit off. I can't stand it. I don't like him. And if you're a Limp Bizkit fan, well, just like if you're a Kanye fan, I don't fucking care. So come at me. I went after Kanye in our Taylor Swift episode, and I stand by my thoughts. But Fred Durst is the same. I know someone said, "Oh yeah, he's one of the greatest rappers." I'm like, maybe in your neighborhood, but not as far as good rap goes. But
listen, Fred Durst was a flash in the pan. If you're going to ask me, if you want my opinion, I'm right there with you. Fred Durst was a flash in the pan to me. And that's the difference, because here we are, we're getting ready to talk about Linkin Park that's been around. Some of these are still around. Granted, they maybe not as mainstream as they were. Rage is still. I think Rage is still around. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chuck. Rage is still around.
Rage is not. They were supposed to be, but Rage and Zach De La Rocha cannot get on the same page.
Okay.
They started a tour and it didn't get completed because he got injured. And then they said, "Oh, when you're healthy, are you going to start the tour again?" He's like, "No, I'm not." So I wish they were. They're one of the most dynamic live bands you'll ever see. And it's funny because Chuck mentioned Slipknot, and I just took my oldest to see Slipknot for a birthday present last year.
Nice.
And it was fun. There's a lot of bands, like I said, I was in such a different headspace that I disregarded a lot of what was really good that was going out there. And Rage kind of came before the new metal bubble came. And like I said, it just, I think about, like you got, like I said, the Papa Roaches out there that are just kind of rehashing the rehash. And it's the theory I talked about on my last show when we were doing our Saturday morning show, and we were talking about the multiplicity. If you've ever seen the movie, Michael Keaton keeps cloning himself, and when he clones himself, a direct clone is good, but the clone of the clone is a complete bumbling idiot. And I think the clone of Rage Against the Machine would be Linkin Park, and then your clone of a clone, there's your, friggin' Fred Durst, and there's Papa Roach, and there's all these other, Crazy Town, and all this god awful bullshit that was going on that makes me realize why I didn't want to listen to that music. But then you come back to Linkin Park, you come back to Slipknot, the Deftones especially. They're great, but I just, like I said, my head was in the the air of superiority cloud, and I fully admit it. And I'm sure people didn't want to talk to me about music because I was just going to school them. But, you know, it's like, all right, shut up, music snob. We don't want to hear your damn mouth.
I will say this. I know Papa Roach is coming back. I think they're getting ready to drop a new, and it looks like their image is changed a little bit. So that does have me a little bit curious to revisit what they're going to sound like. I don't know if they'll go back to, you know, their old sound, but
yeah,
I am curious. It looks like they've, you know, just like we were talking about the Black Crowes not too long ago, and how they're still the same, but their image has changed a little bit, but their sound is still the same. And I appreciate that, but you always be my butterfly. But I'm kind of curious to see what I'm right there with you, Chuck, on Fred. Yeah, but Wes, yeah, there were some really good guys in the band. Fred, I don't know how Fred became the front man. That's
well, I mean, I think the whole Woodstock 99 thing was the real bubble burster of that whole new metal scene. And Fred Durst was the poster boy who's out there, you know, telling him to do all this stuff. But the Chili Peppers were just as bad when it came down to it. But Fred Durst became the one who was doing, and Papa Roach never left, but they've calmed down a lot. Okay, I don't know. I actually met the guys from Papa Roach. I did recording work for them. So nice guys. I mean, nice guys. I'm just not a fan of their music. But like I said, I was in a different headspace, and now I can kind of come back to a lot of that, especially because my kids are more into it, and I'm walking in with a more open mind, and I'm not being that friggin' snooty dick who just tells you anything that's released on a major label is garbage. And you know, I admit I'm gonna call myself out, and I'm okay with that.
If you can listen to Gordon, if you can listen to Gordon, you can listen to Papa Roach now.
Hey, see, that's all right, because you're here to bring me back in, and it's like, okay, I got this, I can handle it. And
that's awesome.
I know Chuck was talking about with Run the Jewels, and that just kills me because I had floor seats for Rage Against the Machine, and Run the Jewels was going to open for them, and it was going to be amazing, and then they just canceled it. So it's like, I was ready for that. I bought them during COVID when everything was still cheap, and but Chester being one of the biggest frontmen, it makes it hard for him to be replaced. But now they have replaced him, so I guess it comes down to, where do you stand with Emily Armstrong? Because she's got a great voice, but it's a different kind of voice. So I guess
voice.
And that's the thing. They could have tried to do like Journey did, and like, here we go. We're going to find the karaoke perfect equivalent of Chester, and just gone out and tried it that way. And I think what they did was a better idea, honestly.
That's what a lot of people you talked about it when that first single dropped, and people were mad. I think they really wanted the karaoke version of Chester, and I totally understand that. And I was open and I was available to take that slot, but some things got in the way.
Yeah,
but,
so you were ready. They didn't know you already had the pipe.
I was ready. So, but Emily, listen, and this is when we get ready to go into our reviews and everything. You've got to look at Emily and this as a different band.
Mm-hmm.
Emily's voice is powerful. Chester's wife signed off. You know, if you needed somebody to sign, and Chester's wife is the one who signed off on her.
Yeah,
and she loved everything about it, which I appreciate on that as well. Because sometimes, sometimes it's hard for them to do that, and I get it. So, but Emily, I mean, I didn't. This is new to me. This is new, plain and simple. This is not Chester Linkin Park. This is Emily Linkin Park.
Yeah, and it has to be looked at like that.
And it has to be. It has to be.
So, I think we can kind of hit into our overall thoughts, and I think we'll differ on this, but that's okay. Yeah. I'm not going to be a music snob guy. I'm going to break the cycle. I don't want to be pelted by people when I walk through town. So,
of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Oh, very nice, very nice.
Cool. So yes, I will. I would say I'll give them another chance. Like I said, they're super nice guys. I did recording work for them. They needed someone to record one of their concerts. I did it for them. I was for hire for a lot of these new metal bands, and I think some of them meeting the people made me dislike them too. So yeah, a lot comes from that. But yes, I have to. If Chuck's telling me I got to give Papa Roach another chance, I will. And then Dash can torture me like, all right, next album, new Papa Roach, let's go.
Yeah, that will definitely be what we probably will do. Not because I definitely in love with Papa Roach. I'm just curious, as Chuck points out, I'm just curious as where this is going to go. So,
yeah.
Overall thoughts. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it sometimes, and I just said it a few minutes ago, sometimes it stinks that you lose one of the greatest, at least to me. This is my opinion. This doesn't have to necessarily be all y'all's opinion. But for me, Chester Bennington was one of the greatest voices out there. He could sing. He had pipes. He was fantastic. And for us to lose him and for him to pass away was definitely devastating to Linkin Park. So I had to go in, and I did everything in the best of my power to go into this brand new, because no matter what, you're always going to carry some biases. But I did. I think I did very well going into this with a very open mind and knowing that this is a brand new album, a brand new group, and that's the way I looked at it. And I felt. Now I won't say I was like wowed like Hybrid Theory, but I was not disappointed.
Yeah,
I was not disappointed. Are there, could there some things to be different? Absolutely, some things could be different. But this is a different sound. You talked about. I think they kind of went popish a little bit. I don't want to say popish, but more mainstream than they did with their.
Yeah, I mean, I got my notes. We'll hear them soon. But yeah, I wanted to kind of say things without, like I said, without the blinders I wore through the 2000s when it was, underground was the only thing that mattered. So for me, my overall thoughts was just, I'm happy, very happy that the band is back and recording music and touring after a devastating loss like they had. So it couldn't have been easy for them to decide to reform, because they knew no matter what they did, they get karaoke version or they get something very different, there's going to be backlash, and it's inevitable. And then they pick a female lead singer, and you're just asking the cretins that might be following you. And hopefully they don't have many of the cretins, because they were always, even when I was, not giving much mind to this, they were more of the enlightened side of that whole scene and didn't seem to be followed by a bunch of mindless, break stuff idiots like Fred Durst, would inspire. I guess this is now my hate letter to Fred Durst, this whole episode. So I apologize. So
you got to put a subtitle later when you drop. We got to go add a subtitle.
First apologies to Fred Durst, but yeah, talentless ass clown.
I love it. I love it.
So, all right,
we might get some more followers.
I digress. Yes, if you hate Fred Durst, join us. If you love Fred Durst, well, tell me I'm wrong. I will disagree with you again. But yeah, if you love Fred Durst and Kanye West, we're not in this. We don't run in the same crowds. I'm going to have to apologize. But all right, so back to saying, so they got a female lead singer, which is going to make it even harder. And they were going to hate the album without hearing the first note from it. So I'm really happy that they did it. And I feel like this album doesn't quite hit the mark of what they want, because it's a new album. It's a first album. And looking at it as a first album instead of an eighth, I think that it's got potential for greatness with this combo. I think they just haven't hit their marks yet, but I think that this can happen. I think Emily's singing is so strong, and she's got, she can belt the hell out of some notes. And I think Mike's rapping needs to get stronger again, because I think that's one of the things that was missing, was some of the songs he wasn't just kind of blowing through and flowing like he used to.
Yeah.
And they weren't, because the beauty with Chester and with Mike was they would just hit these intersections, and one would stop, the next would take off, and they were seamless and perfect. And they haven't quite got there yet. But listening to this, I think if this is a first album from some indie band that you're checking out at the club, you're like, damn, these guys can be good. And I think album 2 could end up becoming this version of Linkin Park's masterpiece. But this one, in my thought, is not quite that masterpiece yet. I'm not going to say it's bad, but it would be more in the, like, looking at the reviews, mine would be sitting more in that 3-star range.
Yeah.
Not saying it's bad, but it hasn't really hit the mark yet. And I think the band also went 7 years without recording. And that's a lot of rust to shake off. So I think once the rust is off, they go out, they tour, and I think they can come back and start, blowing people away again.
I agree. I for a studio album and their first real time, lightning strikes once, sometimes twice. Lightning struck for me with Hybrid Theory. I get it. That was just at the right time. Sometimes miracles happen, and that's Hybrid Theory.
Yeah.
Hybrid Theory is one of those albums that are rare for a first album for a band. And, so I wasn't, but I was trying not to expect that with this. And I think I feel like that gave it due justice, because I'm right there with you as far as it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. There's way much more potential. And you're right. I think that's it, when they get enough time working with each other and that second album comes. Oh man. I'm not saying it's going to be Hybrid Theory, but I think it'll be dynamite. I think it'll be what we expect from Linkin Park. So I'm right there with you. I think that was a good.
That's all you can ask for, is for them to get back. And I think playing shows together will also help, because that live environment, that's when the creative juices will get flowing.
Oh yeah.
So I think where it stands is, it's potential. Like I said, 3-star for me. I wouldn't drop it into 5-star category, but it's rare that you get a first album that is, because you can call it what you want, but it's really first album. And the fact that they kept the name, they could have just redid the name. I mean, it's rare. The only time you can really grab a new lead singer and make a 5-star album, I think of like Back in Black by AC/DC. Like how they went from losing their singer to recording what's considered one of the greatest rock albums of all time. That can't be, that I can't think of another example where that happened that occurred. So that's rare. And to put something even functionally decent out is good, because there's plenty of bands from that era that have, they haven't put anything decent out. They're just kind of doing the victory laps on the albums they did in the 2000s, because they really don't have to. Like, hey, we're just going to play this album in its entirety, because people really don't want new stuff. So it's a risk overall, even just putting new stuff out. So, hats off to them for at least getting back in the ring.
Absolutely.
All right. So, best song. What was your favorite song, or one of your favorite songs on this? Because I think I have about 3 that I picked on that.
I got 3 that are definitely. It starts with the emptiness machine. I love that first track. It gets you, because obviously, and it introduces you to Emily.
Yeah.
But you get to hear her immediately, and you're like, that is a really good song, because again, and I'm not trying to say she's Chester, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys you're out there listening, I'm not saying she's Chester. She's Emily, and that's who she will be. She does a really good job. She hits her notes like she's supposed to hit her notes, and she's there's they need some timing together, kind of like a quarterback and a receiver, but they're going to get there. But I felt like the timing was really good in this song. Just some things. I loved "Heavy Is the Crown," and then I loved "Stained." And if you want me to have a honorable mention, I just there's nothing awesome about it. I just love the title, and it's very rarely you'll just get a bunch of capital letters. But I thought it was a fun song. But if I were to my top 3, Emptiness Machine, probably Heavy Is the Crown, and then Stained. I thought those were really good songs, in my opinion.
For me, Heavy Is the Crown was my favorite. Now, I hadn't even heard any of these singles before we started, but I think that one really Mike Shinoda sounds like Mike Shinoda when he's rapping. He's flowing, he's moving, and that's the the things that I was talking about, the intersections where one ends and one takes off. That's what I hear in that. And this song feels like the most worthy addition to the legacy of the band. I mean, this one,
absolutely.
If Chester were singing it, you could throw it on one of their earlier albums and it wouldn't feel out of place.
Right on.
It's strong as any single they've put out, and it's with someone new, so that's even better. But yeah, that one was the first one. Like the opening song, yeah, I agree, it was good. And we talk, I mean, it's been constant talk on the show about openers. You've got to open strong, or the odds are you're going to lose me. I mean, now when we do it for the show, I have to listen to the whole album. But when I'm just, playing some new stuff when I'm going to go on a run or something like that, it's got to pass the test. And I give it one or two songs, and if it's not grabbing me yet, then I'm moving on to something else, because there's infinite good music out there that I need to listen to, and I'm not going to waste my time if you can't grab me right away. I mean, same thing with books. I mean, I'll never have the time to read all the great books that are out there, so you gotta grab me quick to keep me going with anything. So I think that this one did that. It was successful at grabbing you right away. And then I love Heavy as the Crown. I just thought, okay, this just feels right. It feels like a Linkin Park proper album. Absolutely. Even though it's always good. I mean, they could have changed the name, and I think people might have been happier if they changed the name, but then they wouldn't be selling out Dodger Stadium if they changed the name away from Linkin Park. So it's kind of, you got that double-edged sword. You want to go out and play the massive arenas, play the massive stadiums. You've got to keep the Linkin Park name. You can't just say, okay, we're reforming with a new name, and it's not gonna blow up the same way. So the second one I liked, I like Two-Face. I just thought that's the kind of riff I imagine everyone's just kind of jumping, and it's another one where I think the intersections were at their best. So yeah, those were the two, besides the opener as well. Those were the three that kind of grabbed me the most.
Absolutely.
All right, so
absolutely.
Best lyrics. So what were some lyrics that stood out for you?
Oh, right. I mean, we just talked about it. Heavy as the Crown. Well, I absolutely love the first song. Heavy as the Crown probably has the best lyrics, at least in my opinion. I mean, you talked about him. He's on it with the rap, but it's pouring in. You're laid on the floor again. One knock at the door, and then we both know how the story ends. You can't win if your white flag's out when the war begins. Aiming so high, but swinging. I mean, this is what you want when you're listening to Linkin Park. And just me reading, I'm getting the goosebumps on it.
Like, now I'm going to go play. Yeah. Cause that's funny. That's the first lyrics that I had written down too. So the ones I'm looking at, you're reading them, I'm like, yep, that's what I had right there. Cause I thought that was kind of it just felt the most connected to what they made in the past. And you can't connect completely. And that's, you have to know that. And anyone going in has to know that. And I think that's always going to be the biggest problem. I mean, you look at bands like Alice in Chains. They lost their singer, and they hired someone who's very similar sounding, but they're just kind of in that middle zone. Stone Temple Pilots.
They're going through the motions, it feels like at times.
They're kind of just they're going to go. You're never really going to rise above the state fair circuit if you just want to go get yourself a karaoke guy, except for Journey. I mean, who knows? Journey somehow gets to keep playing the massive shows when they just said, all right, Steve Perry's a douche. Good day. And here's this dude who sings just like him. We're going to keep that guy around. So like, I guess people will forgive you when your singer is a known god awful person. So they're like, we don't want you to have to suffer with that guy's personality anymore. It's kind of like if the Smiths want to, hire someone above Morrissey, no one's going to begrudge them that.
That's spot on, man. That is spot on. Good point. Yeah. That whole song is just, man, this is an anthem for a lot of people.
And it could be, because you look at, okay, it's a new generation, because I know both my children, they're listening to a lot of the older music, and thanks to me, they know a lot of, more of the underground obscure stuff, but they're really falling into that 2000s new metal, and it's kind of opening my eyes to it again. But this one, it's from one of the new metal bands that they would know, but it's brand new, so they can own it. They can have more ownership of this instead of, that we're going to grab something from the past and cling on to that. It's like, no, this now, even though it is one of those bands from the past, it's theirs. It can be the anthem for, the kids of this generation. So it kind of fits and checks both boxes. So I think that's what makes it so good, is it works on all the levels.
Yeah. And then one of my other ones, let me get my notes here. Again, the Emptiness Machine. It's just, I like the song, and it's just, I let you cut me open just to watch me bleed. Gave up who I am for you. You wanted me to be. Don't know why I'm hoping for what I won't receive. Falling for the promise of the Emptiness Machine. I mean, we all been there, guys.
Yeah.
Your blades are sharpened with precision, flashing your favorite point of view. I mean, listen, this was such a great song to start the album with, and I'm so glad that they did. This is probably one of the better, set of lyrics, because you're feeling it, and he's going to it, and then Emily comes in, and you're just like, yeah, tell me.
It's like, preach. We want to hear more. And I think that, it's a strong opener lyrically. It's a strong opener musically, and it's, we've talked about it too many times. The hook is so important, that just grab them from the beginning, and it works on all the levels. And if you look right now on Spotify, it's one of the top streamed songs by Linkin Park of any era. So that just says, okay, it's resonating with people beyond just, it's a new novelty. Let's check this out. But no, it's racking up gigantic amounts of listens. So yeah, people are, everyone's going to give it that morbid curiosity play once. But for it to rise to the top of their catalog, that means they're playing it more than once. They're like, okay, I need this not just once. I need to play it again and again. And that's how you move up and elevate to that point. So yeah, that is, like you said,
those lyrics will resonate with a lot. I mean, they will resonate, and they're, it's just like I said, there's certain songs that you can play over and over because they resonate. Those lyrics mean something, and this is one of those ones. And I'm telling you, 10 years, 15 years down the road, if I ask that question again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Emptiness Machine is one of those songs that people go, I can listen to it over and over and over on repeat, and just and because I feel that song.
Yeah, there's a generation of music lovers that are finding that as their entry point. And if that's the case, that's great, because now hopefully we're not seeing a one and done. We're seeing something that's going to build, because I feel like it, like I said, it just hasn't got the full potential earned. I mean, your quarterback analogy was good, because I think about it like this: they're still at college level. They need to rise back up to the pros, but they have all the talent to do it. And they have one of the most prolific bands that existed in the 2000s. So they have all the power to rise up, but they just, a few songs hit that mark the same way, but this one is definitely one of them. And I think the other one would be the Heavy as the Crown. Those two, you're just like, damn, this is the potential. This is why they're going to get drafted number one and get their chance out in the pros.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I got, for some of my lyrics, I picked the one from I Give You Everything I Have, which is abbreviated on the album, but if you listen to it, it's that. So I give you everything I have. All you give me is your ugliness. You're not as honest as you act. Just a devil with a God complex. So I like that. Just, it's kind of like, all right.
That's
more poetic. So we've already said, like, okay, you can talk about loss, but the true poets make it stick a lot more. And this is one of the ones where it's like, all right, you suck. That's what I would say. But she's able to take it up to a new level with her lyrics. And then the last one where Good Things Go. So all All I say, I hate you when I don't. Push you when you get too close. It's hard to laugh when I'm the joke, but I can't do this on my own. Only you could save me from my lack of self-control. So I liked that one as well. She's kind of deep introspective lyrics. So yeah, I think it works. I think honestly though, a lot of what didn't work for me on some of the songs that I found lighter was the lyrics didn't work. So the lyrics were either strong or kind of just, all right, that feels generic. I'm going to listen to this on any random, local rock station, and it's just not going to move you. So some of them hit more on that level. But again, like using your football analogy, they got to get out there and play a few more downs, and then they're going to become the Chiefs. I mean, I hope not. I'm tired of the Chiefs, but that's a different, that's for a different podcast.
Oh yeah. Right. That's for me to definitely. Yeah.
Yes. You can talk about that next week, and I'll chime in and tell you how tired I am of that, but I don't think I'm alone.
No.
All right. So now the question is, did any of these ones inspire you to hit that skip button?
The skip button is so hard. Obviously, we're listening to it on the LP, but
the grab it and move it button, which is a pain in the damn ass.
I could definitely get over Overflow. See how I did that? I could get over Overflow.
I got that one too. So that was one of my skippers. Yeah, Overflow.
Casualty.
For me, I put down my notes were that it sounds like a poorly executed Imagine Dragons song.
Yes,
I heard it. I'm like, okay, it's Imagine Dragons light, and I'm just not feeling it. Like I can listen to regular Imagine Dragons. This is just kind of the poor man's version, and I'm not here for that. So that was my big skip one.
Just not a good. I mean, I won't say it's a horrible song.
No, there's nothing horrible on the album. I wouldn't rate anything as just terrible, but if I'm moving through, and I always give the albums the run test. And on my run, it's not a vinyl album. I can hit that skip button, and that one I'm like, all right, I'm giving another chance. Got about 30 seconds in, I'm like, nope, hit that skip button. I run with the Bluetooth headphones. I press the thing and it skips it. I'm like, yeah, that one, it didn't survive the run. So that one, and then Over Each Other, I didn't really feel that one either. I thought it was just weak, one of their weaker musically and lyrically, and that one as well. I noted I could hear it, and we have a local rock station out here. It's KCAL, and I just hear like, okay, KCAL rocks, and we got Over Each Other. I'm like, no, because that station I skip. That whole station is a skip. Once in a while they play decent music, but my children have informed me, like once in a while, probably too often, the music snob resurfaces, and I become intolerable. So I'm like, all right, shut up. It's just rock music. You'll be fine.
Over Each Other, I'm right there with you. It was right it's right there at the end of that first side. If I'm not, I'm trying to remember.
I believe so.
It's right there at the end of the first side. So it's kind of at that good place where if I, once I'm done with Heavy as the Crown, I could go and move over and just pick it up and turn it over. Because again, I could move it on to Two-Faced. And then, like I said, I like Stained a lot, but there's probably people that'll be like, "Oh, Stained's the worst song," but Stained I felt Stained for some reason. I felt,
and in the end, we're arguing opinion because this could be someone's masterpiece, or this could be someone's, entering their garbage can. And I don't think, honestly, I don't think we've even the albums I've not liked as much, I don't think we've hit anything where I'm just like, oh, that album, I want nothing to do with any of it. I think all the albums have their redeeming qualities, and a lot of it's just kind of, for me, opening my eyes to stuff that I wouldn't have played, and that's kind of the fun of it. But I don't listen to any song on this album, and there's some I like better than others, but I don't listen to any of them and go, okay, this is just unlistenable. And there are plenty of songs from bands I love that I would call unlistenable. I throw Smashing Pumpkins out a lot because this is a band that I've probably seen them 40 times in concert. Their singer is not a nice human being, but whatever. You don't listen to him because you want to hang out, but he's that's the songs I try, and I'm like, I can't get through this song, and I don't have the patience for bad music. So there's plenty where I just, like I said, if I don't like a song, I get generally angry at it, and I don't get angry at any of these songs. Like I hear it, I'm like, okay, meh. That's about as angry as I got for this album.
Yeah, most people listen to Smashing Pumpkins now to try to get a wrestling contract, but other than that,
Billy Corgan,
Billy Corgan,
yeah,
definitely not a nice man. Definitely not a nice man.
Oh, I've met him on multiple occasions. I can very much vouch for the fact that him and Fred Durst should just start a band and like call themselves the Douches. And Morrissey, the three of them can start a band. It'll be the King Douches and fuck them all, and just it's like, all right. And the thing I will say, they have good music. I can't take it away.
I will say I love more. There's a lot of songs I can listen to by Morrissey, but as a human being, he is low on the totem pole of good people.
Oh, I detest him so much I can't even play the Smiths. I'm like, and it's just because I've had experiences too close to him, and now I'm just like, I hear his voice and I start like, oh, that stupid voice of his, and that he's just gonna start telling me I can't eat meat and what I need to do, and
Morrissey is definitely on the low totem pole of good people.
All right, so here we're going to anger some Smiths fans. Although I don't know anyone. I know people who love his music, but I don't know many people that are like, Morrissey's just a great guy. The guy who canceled the concert because he was too cold. I'm like, fucker, you can buy a jacket. You got money.
Yeah, so, listen, you might.
I don't think anyone's going to defend him as a human being, but his music, I mean, I can see that. You can defend that, and I'll agree with you.
Yeah, agreed.
So yes, we've gone on a tangent of artists we hate, and fortunately in Linkin Park, there's no one that's on that level that would have to join the super group of Billy Morrissey, Kanye. He can join it too. Add him. He could rap. He can be the rapper of this new super group.
Emily is definitely growing on me with after my first listen. Obviously, I went back and hit it a couple more times, and she grows and she grows on you. And I think again. We've talked about it. When it comes to that second album, Emily's going to be a household name. People are going to love her. I guarantee it, because she nails it. And to me, she nails what she needs to do. Is there some work? Absolutely.
Yeah. Overall, I mean, they're not 100% yet. They haven't reached their final, their final evolution. They're starting from zero. I mean, the album title is appropriate because they really had to just throw it out. And I think there's the best potential, but there's some miss, but nothing, no songs angered me. And that's saying something, because I think on any album I can find something that just makes me genuinely angry for a minute.
We didn't get no horrible Christmas song by Gordon Lightfoot on this album.
No bad Christmas songs. I mean, we did okay. So I didn't feel hostile toward any of the music on this. I guess that's not a ringing endorsement, but there's plenty of albums by bands I love that I hear that song like, what the heck? This is garbage, and why'd you even put that on the album? You should know better. But that's just me and my grumpiness sometimes. This time maybe they'll come after me, because I know people weren't happy with you about your Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah, I got.
Is it my turn to stand in front of the squad and take my lumps? We'll see.
Amber was definitely very vocal about my
she
did
not agree with your opinion, so that's fine. And I mean, the thing is, a lot of what music is how it makes you feel, and if you feel nothing toward it, it's again, I don't think I got angry at any song on that album. I don't remember it that well to remember if I was angry or not, but no, I think I would know when I get angry. I'm like, I just grumble at a song, and I think we've had a few where I just you'd have to listen back because I don't even remember them. I removed them from my memory. I got too many good songs in there to let the crappy ones sit. We'll have to revisit a few during our Christmas show next year, but beyond that, I mean, it's awesome. The fact that you can put this album out and it can be overall just listenable from start to finish is saying something. You know, it's not
Absolutely.
There are higher peaks, but there's no super lows. I mean, even the skippers aren't terrible. They're just not on the level of what you expect from Linkin Park.
Truth.
All right. So I guess here we go. Keep it or return it to the used bin.
This is definitely keeper. You know, I booed because obviously I'm not really booing Metacritic. I'm a little bit high. I'm a little bit higher than them. I gave it a B, a straight up 85. I think it's right there in that 80, 84, 85 range. 4 stars if you guys are going by stars. It's a 4-star. It's there's work that needs to be done. And that's not, I'm not trying to be negative because again, there's a lot of rust because they haven't played in so long. But they're, I mean, it's just it's not like you have to bang the rust off. It's a little, I just got to
wipe it off,
and we're,
And she was in a different band as well. So she's having to record with all new musicians. Yeah. And I'm sure it's a lot trickier because you're recording with not just, you know, your local band from LA, you're recording with these gigantic megastars, and who knows what kind of ego was in the room, but the fact that they got this out and that they even did it, because they could have gone the safe route. We're going to get a karaoke sounding guy. We're going to go around and play Hybrid Theory in its entirety for the next 20 years and just, you know, keep doing the victory laps on that, because why do we want to go through the hassle of recording a new album? So the fact they did it, you know, props for that, because most bands would have just taken the easy way out. And the fact that they didn't is great. So yeah, for me, I'm doing the same. I'm going to keep it. I'm not putting it in the used bin. It's not their best, but some of what the good that's on it, it warrants keeping it. Where that absolutely, I can think some of the albums that we've done, I don't know if I'll ever grab it and play it again. Am I going to ever reach for some of these albums and think, okay, I really want to play that one again? Probably not. But for this one, I would play songs of it again. Would I play it in its entirety? Not often. But would I listen to songs through it? For sure. There's songs that are definitely worth listening to. And now I realize I need to go back kind of now that I'm not as biased and listen to the other Linkin Park catalog, because I have never played one of their albums in its entirety. This is the first one. So I think I need to go through and play the other 7, because I'm sure there's some great stuff in there beyond what the radio hits are. I mean, the radio hits I know, and they've grown on me, but there's better in there as well. I'm sure there's some of my favorite tracks on anyone's album are the non-radio cuts. And I got to go and explore and find these albums because they're worthy of the time. And I'll definitely be spending some more time with Linkin Park, because I'm always looking for stuff with good movement and something I can go for a long run with. So I'm not going to throw this on when I'm writing, but when I'm going on a run, throw a good Linkin Park mix on and familiarize myself with their catalog, because I definitely have a lot of holes when it comes to that. So now let's talk about next week. Next week, we are digging in to Amy Winehouse's Frank. I have never played this album. Honestly, I don't think I've even played Black to Black in its entirety. I mean, I know songs because they were unavoidable, but with Frank, I'm going in blind. The reason I picked last week's pick was because I knew that they had the Amy Winehouse connection, and I wanted to kind of find that connection. So next week, I get to listen to and explore Amy Winehouse's Frank. I'm excited about this because she is such a prolific artist, another one who was gone too soon. So I'm excited to dig into this one.
I have a deep-seated love for Amy Winehouse. I absolutely love her voice. She's, again, we're going to compare her a little bit even to the last album that we listened to with the Dap Kings, you know, and some of the style. So I love Amy, and yes, definitely gone way too soon.
Oh yeah. So yes, I want the Amy Winehouse Sharon Jones tour that we can't have. So it's like, all right, that would have been the ultimate, but yeah, we lost them both.
Oh yeah.
So yes, this will be a fun one next week. Tune in if you know Amy Winehouse. If you're a fan, definitely tune in. Let us know if we're right, if we're wrong. I have no idea where I'm gonna fall because I know some of her Back to Black songs, but nothing on this one. So it's gonna be fun to explore Amy Winehouse and listen to my first full Amy Winehouse album. So tune in next week at our regular time. Today we had to do a Monday show, but next week we'll be back Wednesday at 9 o'clock Eastern on our normal place, YouTube and Facebook. You can find us there and tune in and let us know what you think. So until then, we will see you next week.
On the tube and feel the vibe. Every show you crave right here live. Heroes and villains clash in the night. Madness Comic Network sets it right. Scroll through the list, find what you need. Epic battles and fast-paced speed. From capes to cosmic space delight. Tune in and watch your favorites ignite. On Facebook, share the thrill so grand. On X, the buzz across the land. Madness Comic Network all around. In every episode, joy is found. Uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun, join the craze. Madness Comic brightens days. Hey! New uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun,